wonderful League of Women Voters president, who's going to start us out tonight.
Great. Thank you so much, Jen. I am the other Jen. So I'm Jen Jackson. I am, as she mentioned, president of the League of Women Voters of Kentucky. And for those of you all who may not be familiar with the League of Women Voters, we are a nonpartisan organization, and we're an organization for everyone, not just women. So the League was founded in 1920 as women got the right to vote as an extension of the 19th Amendment to educate people about voting. We are rooted in our history of protecting voting rights and allowing participation in our democratic government, and allowing the people to have a voice in how they are governed. And right now we are under challenging times. And I want to emphasize that nonpartisanship does not mean that we do not take positions on issues. As you can imagine, we have strong issues based on voting rights and being able to access the polls. And we are rooted in our history. So at times there have been Democrats who have not liked what we've done. There have been Republicans that have not liked what we've done. We do not change our position based on the political parties, which would be partisan, and that we are following the will of the political party. No, you can look at our issues and how we've come to these stances in our impact on issues, and again, trace that back for 106 years. And so anyway, we are living in trying times right now. Our Constitution is under attack. And so we are so glad that so many people are showing up at this moment to learn about what we can do as individual citizens to help protect our democracy and way of living as United States citizens that we have grown accustomed to. And I am going to turn it over now to, I believe, Patty. Patty Canapple. She is the leader of our Unite and Rise effort with the League.
Hello, everybody. And Jana Ray, if you'll go to the next slide, we're going to start with two short video clips that sort of make our challenge here, facing our democracy, pretty clear. And we'll start with Steve Bannon for PBS Frontline.
Here's what we know. If you take power and exert it, this system's not so tough. You know why? They're all gutless cowards. They've all hid behind the system for decades and decades and decades. So the university administrators, they're not that tough. The big law firms, they're not that tough. The media, look who's cratered. How many times, look how they're settling with Trump. They're not tough. We're resilient, we're anti-fragile, and we're tough. You can put us in fucking prison. You can take Trump up there and put him on trial every day. The people around Trump are battle-hardened, okay? You're not going to scare us, and we're not going to stop. And what we know is you guys are a bunch of pussies. You will crater. PBS is going to crater. You know why? You're not tough. You don't believe actually at your core in what you're trying to do. And you'll fold, like the law firms, like the universities, like the media, like all of these institutions. You will fold because we're relentless and we're not going to stop.
And let's go to the next one. This is David Brooks, and he is responding to a question about an interview that Kamala Harris gave after the election. Go ahead, Jana Ray.
To her, obviously. The part where I totally agreed with her was she made a point about capitulation. And this has shocked me too, that in Israel, when Bibi tried to do these judicial reforms before October 7th, hundreds of thousands of people got to the street, and they did it for month after month after month. And now we have a similar situation, and this happens all across the world. When somebody tries to centralize power, the people rise up. And why have the people not risen up? And everybody's cutting separate deals. And I see business leaders, university presidents, other people laying low and not trying to rise up, and therefore there's strength in numbers, and we're not using that strength. Trump can pick people off one or another. And so I think that civic capitulation that she mentioned, that is a real thing.
So these comments, we think, present a challenge not only to all those who support democracy, but especially the League of Women Voters. Steve Bannon is describing what I call the anti-democratic forces as being strong and resilient, and those who oppose their thinking as weak and not believing in what we do at our core. Well, the League of Women Voters, as Jen pointed out, has been around for 106 years. We have had the same mission from that time, and that is to ensure the informed and active participation of citizens in our democracy. And we're not changing that mission. We're not going anywhere. If we didn't believe in that at our core, we would not still be here. So we see this as a challenge that we're ready to rise to. And as to David Brooks' frustration that groups and people are not coalescing, I think we're seeing that now quite a bit. And the League has worked with partner organizations throughout our history. We are expanding that now. We're ready to be part of this fight for our democracy. So I'll turn it back over to Jen to talk a little bit about the background on this Unite and Rise movement.
Thank you, Patty. Jana Ray, can you go through all of those headlines for me? So you'll see on the screen, it just really feels like it's storming right now. We have a ton of different headlines that are hitting us every day, and the administration has noted a couple of times that flooding the zone is a tactic, right? We're going to hit everything all at once and overwhelm people, and it's going to be really hard to pay attention to things. Now, I want to also just very briefly, before we move on, touch on something that Jen Jackson said about how this is nonpartisan. The League, as Jen said, we take positions on issues, but one of those issues is holding elected officials accountable. We don't take a partisan stance. We don't choose a candidate. We don't choose a party, but we do hold elected officials accountable for their actions. And so that's something I wanted to highlight here. So for the first time in its history, in its over 100-year history, the League of Women Voters declared a constitutional crisis in April. And this was basically because they felt like the checks and balances that we have are being eroded. The different branches are not responding to executive overreach. And so as a result, they started a new campaign called Unite and Rise 8.5. Now, 8.5 comes from, and I'm sure many of you on this call have heard of this, the 3.5% theory or 3.5% principle from Dr. Erica Chenoweth at Harvard, who says that any nonviolent civic movement that has engaged 3.5% of the population has never failed globally. So 8.5 is 8.5 million people in America. And then Jana Ray, next slide, please. Okay, click over. What we have decided to do as part of our Kentucky campaign is to mobilize 135,000 Kentuckians, back at the envelope, 3.5%, to defend our Constitution, to protect voters, and to build a democracy where every person and every voice counts. Now, this is a very, very broad goal, but we're going to get into what that kind of means here in a second. And we have 4 pillars of Unite and Rise. We're going to talk about legal and policy advocacy, mobilization and coalitions, civic education, and democracy resilience. With that, I'll turn it right back over to Patty.
Thank you, Jen. So what are we actually doing around these 4 pillars, which these pillars were identified by the National League? So we in Kentucky, the Kentucky Unite and Rise campaign, we are organizing our work around those pillars. And let's go to the next slide. Under that legal and policy advocacy, we have 3 goals. The first one is to meet with all 8 members of our congressional delegation. And we're starting that by trying to meet with them here in Kentucky when they are on recess. So we have so far met with Representative McGarvey. With the others, we are working our way up through the legislative staffers. And so to date, we've met with staffers for Senators McConnell and Paul and Representatives Guthrie and Barr. We are still working on Rogers, Massey, and Comer, but we are not giving up. And the second piece of that goal, next slide, is taking our message directly to them in the halls of Congress. And we are working with leagues across 5 states right now to encourage and support the National League to organize with partner organizations a mass demonstration, rally, event in DC to get into the halls of Congress, ideally by appointment, but sitting in there if we need to, rally on the steps. And the theme here, Congress, do your job. So this is a little different from some of the other marches we've been doing because Congress is the unique and singular focus. Congress could have stopped a lot of this, and they still can. So let's go to the next slide. The second goal we have is to bring some transparency. The Kentucky League has been doing some work about governmental transparency. We want to bring some transparency to what is happening in Kentucky County jails that are housing detainees, immigrant detainees for ICE and DHS. And if you go to the next slide, we can show you the map here of the county jails. that currently have those contracts. And what we're doing is we're looking at the data they post on their websites. Go on to the next slide, Jenna. So we can start to get a sense of what we're seeing. And you can see on this graph in particular that the number of detainees has been increasing quite substantially between each reporting period. And that orange bar shows the ones that have no criminal convictions or any charges listed for them. So that number is really growing as well. We're going to take the data. We're reviewing Kentucky laws and ICE standards on prisoner treatment. And we are formulating a set of questions focused on human dignity, human rights, and due process in our county jails. We are reaching out to jailers in all of these facilities and asking them to meet with us for an in-person discussion and try to reveal to the public what's going on. And we have gotten a relatively good response. We are scheduling those meetings now. We hope to have a report out this spring to sort of be phase one of what is happening. What are the conditions for immigrants in Kentucky County jails? And then based on what we learn, we'll determine what the next step of this particular advocacy will be. Going on to the next piece of the policy advocacy, this is kind of an umbrella over what we've always done. So this one is about advocating with our elected officials and key decision makers in Frankfort. So we have a League Day at the Capitol every year. This photo is from last year. The one on the right is a democracy principle rally we held last year to advocate for greater transparency and citizen participation in the legislative process in Frankfort. And later on, Tracy Hall from Hopkinsville will tell you about an event they're planning with Secretary of State Michael Adams. Go on to the next slide, Jenna. If you're interested in going to our League Day this year, it is February 17th. This is a great opportunity to connect with your elected officials in Frankfort with support from the League. You can go to our website and register, and we will have some orientation sessions by Zoom ahead of time to kind of get you familiar with what you need to do. Going on to the next slide, this is Pillar 2 of Unite and Rise, public mobilization and coalitions. So as I said, we are expanding our partnerships now. We are supporting and co-sponsoring pro-democracy rallies. These photos are from the October No Kings from leagues across the state, working with our partners and others who are there. And you can see our Unite and Rise signs that people were carrying. On to the next slide. The third pillar, civic education and engagement, this is something the League has always excelled at and has always done. So Unite and Rise is sort of an umbrella over what the local leagues, most of this is at the local level, and we'll be enhancing that as well. So we do voter registration, we do candidate forums, we do public forums on various topics related to democracy. We gather people together to learn more about our democracy and about the League. Going on to the final pillar is democracy resilience. So we've got to build, we've got to protect, preserve, and build that resilience. These are the two goals for Unite and Rise, but these are things that the League has been working on for a long time. Fair redistricting, we didn't have too much success in 2020 after that census getting fair redistricting, but we will continue working on it. We've been around a long time. We're not giving up. We're not going anywhere. And the second one, Kentucky is one of 3 states that does not restore voting rights to people who've completed their sentences for felony convictions. We have been working on changing this for a long time. It will take a constitutional amendment. This year, we are optimistic that we may actually get some legislators to get that on the ballot for us. So going on then, I think that wraps up. This is a whirlwind, but you will have time to ask us questions about these. That's our basic set of goals and actions that we have planned under Unite and Rise. I'll go back over to Jen.
Thanks, Patty. Yeah, there's a lot that we're doing. We're trying to do quite a bit of stuff. And as Patty mentioned, a lot of it is stuff that we were already doing, but a lot of it is new and it's more mobilization and it's more getting out there. But I just wanted to talk through some ways that you can get involved. So how can you be part of this? How can you help protect democracy in a nonpartisan way? How can you get out there and actually use your power to push back? So, couple of things. The first is that we need partners as much as we can. So, individual partners, individual volunteers, people who want to become leaders. We need organizations to be open to partnering with us so that maybe we can share the burden of some of this. So, for example, we have a legislative committee that is actually going through and looking at all the bills that are coming through Frankfurt right now, and maybe getting some extra eyes to help on that. Maybe an organization would like to help out, or more volunteers. We'll go to voter services here in a second, but we always do every election cycle candidate forums, or mostly known as debates, between different candidates for local races, nonpartisan races, state races. We also have rapid response teams, and it'd be great if folks were interested in creating some of those in their local areas. We have kind of our bread and butter stuff, which is going and helping people register to vote, doing get out the vote drives and canvasses, but also working as a poll worker or an election observer. And so we can help you with all of that. We need folks to come and help us with our communications and social media, help us, if you guys are really good at that, we would love someone to show us how to do TikTok, because that would be great. No, but we have a lot of really interesting working groups as well. We have this one on DC, which we're going to be launching quite soon. We're trying to get this DC event moving, but also the Immigration Task Force that Patty mentioned. We would love to have more folks kind of join in and learn more about that. We're being a little bit vague about some of the details, but we're happy to share those more one-on-one. And then again, as I mentioned, we're always looking for folks to come in and take on a leadership role if that's something that you're interested in. So we'd love for you to reach out. And the other thing that we're looking at is doing some cross-party dialogue, or just trying to build bridges, because I think right now it's very, very difficult for folks to talk to each other right now. So looking at how we can help folks talk to each other again. So I'm going to turn it back over to Jen Jackson, who's going to mention a little bit more about voter services and what that means.
Hi, so voter services is sort of our league lingo for the things that we do for direct voter contact. Like it includes registering voters, but also we've started to do some exciting new techniques instead of just setting up a table somewhere, which is awesome. But we also are able to do text banks now, where we're able to reach out to 100 or 200,000 voters in a night to be able to connect people and let them know about when elections are coming up. So of course, this is not trying to tell someone to vote for a particular candidate or anything like that. People just need information about when elections are, when the voter registration deadlines are, when to get their absentee ballots, all of those things. Voter services helps the public learn about all of that information so they are able to vote and participate in elections. And so some of the cool things that we did leading up to the election in 2024, we went to college campuses. We did voter tripling, where we got college students to reach out to their networks, because they have mailing lists of all the people on their softball team or different sports teams and different things, to get them to be the messengers, because we know that's the most powerful when it's coming from a peer. And so we also were able to do door-to-door canvassing. So many people may be familiar with canvassing in the terms of like knocking on doors for a candidate. We do nonpartisan canvassing, where we're giving people information about the locations for voting, about how vote centers work, about different things. And you may not know all the ins and outs about that, but we will teach you all the information that you need to know. And so it's a really exciting time, I think, to get involved with the league. And the other great thing is that we are open to your ideas. So if you have new ideas, new ways that you want to engage voters, we will help you make that happen. And so we are open to all of those things. And of course, candidate forums, as Jen already mentioned, this year is, it's an election year. We have a primary election, and then we also have the general election in November. So there is a lot of work to do. And so we are excited to have people who are anxious about what's happening to manifest that into direct action and helping voters be educated, one, about what the issues are, what's at stake, understanding when they're voting for someone what that office actually does, because sometimes what they're talking about in their campaigns is not related at all to their jobs. So anyway, it's a lot of exciting work, and we would love to have you come and work with us on those things.
Thanks,
I
Jen.
turn it back over
You
to
know, we get a lot of questions of, the sky is falling. What can I do? And, these things on this slide or ideas that you have, honestly, you can make a real difference. And we'd love to be your political home. If you're not part of us already, if you are part of us already, we would love to have you on the Unite and Rise committee. We are trying to do a lot. And I think that, sometimes it feels good to take our power and do something with it. Next slide, please, Jenna Ray. I'm going to turn it now over to Sandra Renner. And Sandra, can you just introduce yourself very briefly?
I'm Sandra Renner. I'm co-president of the Louisville League of Women Voters. We are a dynamic and active branch of over 300 members. Variety of things we take on, as have already been described, but we communicate. We have a weekly newsletter. We not only have events about Louisville, about the league, but we also feature community events on a variety of issues. We register voters. That's probably what we're best known for. We registered over 1,000 voters last year. We attend naturalization ceremonies. We work with most of the local high schools in Jefferson County, the colleges, and have probably done over 500 public events over the last couple of years. We also educate voters. So we have a citizens guide, which explains who your representatives are from the president on down to the school board and how you contact those people. We provide presentations to a variety of groups on voting, on why they should vote. We study various issues. We have a monthly Democracy in Action program, which is both online and in person, where we have speakers talking about various topics. Our last one was about the election cycle, what's happening in Frankfort, how do you get involved, how do you reach out to a legislator, how do you make your voice heard. We also have an observer corps that monitors the Metro Council. So we're doing a lot. We'd love to have you. All of these things fit into protecting our democracy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandra. Next up is Liza Holland for Lexington.
Hello, everybody. Thank you. So exciting to see so many people on the call. Louisville's a hard act to follow, but we in Lexington are also really working hard at all of the variety of things. I would highlight that we have a partnership with the WUKY for a podcast called Voting Matters, and we're focusing and really leaning in on the civic education portion of that. We, like Louisville, are very active in promoting democracy. We're part of a coalition looking at protests, all that kind of stuff. We also, someone had asked about what the rapid response teams do. Some of that is deciding what we want to get involved with and what might be too spicy for the league. So those are those kind of real quick rapid response things. We've got great signal groups up online working on that. And the other thing that I am just real excited about is the number of partnerships that we have developed. Civic Lex has been a huge partner for us, but we have partnerships on the candidate forums, meet and greets, high school outreach, voting rights, immigrants' rights, the restoration of voting rights. And we have a cacophony of people who are digging in with us to be able to make that happen.
Great. Thank you, Liza. I appreciate it. Now over to Karen for Northern Kentucky. Oh, Karen, I think you might be on mute.
No.
Oh, there, we can hear you now.
Okay. Karen Brown, Northern Kentucky. Our league is 6 years old and we have approximately 35 members. We stay busy with the usual league work. We participate in tabling events and get out the vote, text banking. In the 24 election, we did some canvassing. In the fall of 2025, in celebration of Constitution Day, we placed pamphlet-sized copies of the U.S. Constitution in the free little libraries scattered all over Northern Kentucky. but we're most proud of a project we started in the fall of 2025, which is a podcast. And it has gone across the state. And since then, it's available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We just finished up a series, Everything Voting. And in those 3 episodes, we interviewed Secretary of State Adams, Carl Owens, a member of the Kentucky Board of Elections, and we just had an in-depth interview with the 3 county clerks in Northern Kentucky. We're looking forward to developing a campus outreach program on the campus of Northern Kentucky University. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Karen. And next for Somerset, we have Nancy Cox.
This is Nancy Cox. In Somerset, we have 5 League of Women Voters of Kentucky who are members at large. We have a few women who are interested in the league. We try to meet once a month. At the meeting, we either have a speaker who speaks on a local issue, or we have a league committee chair who speaks on the work of that committee and how to get involved. At other times, we explore the league website and all that the league has to offer, as well as how to navigate the website. We have reports on the committee meetings that our members have attended, as they are members of league committees. We engage in various recruitment activities, such as hosting voter registrations events at the local community college, and we set up a table at community celebrations, such as the Juneteenth celebration, A Taste of Somerset, and that is so we can create awareness of the local league's efforts and encourage interested persons in joining either as a volunteer or to join as members. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. I appreciate that. All right, next we have for Southern Kentucky, Diane Lewis.
Good evening, folks. Diane Lewis here in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Jana Ray Conway and I are co-leaders of the Southern Kentucky League, which encompasses 10 counties: Allen, Barron, Butler, Edmondson, Hart, Logan, Metcalfe, Monroe, Simpson, and Warren. Currently, we are in a league rebuilding phase. We have a total of 17 members scattered in 4 of those counties. Before we pivot again to intense voter outreach, we are first trying to get some systems in place. Establish a campus presence at Western Kentucky University with an enrollment of 16,000 to 17,000 students there. We are hoping, I think I saw Dr. Kate Brown sign in. She is here this evening. We have never met. We've been emailing for months, but Snowmageddon stopped us from meeting for coffee this week. Kate is an associate professor in the history department, specializing in U.S. and British legal history. She is interested in both mentoring our league students, we have 2 currently, and joining our league. We have also contacts from South Central Kentucky Community and Technical College, where we have held voter registrations in the past. Second, continuing the congressional outreach that Patty mentored. We met last fall with Representative Guthrie's staff, and we will be reaching out ASAP for an in-person meeting with Representative Guthrie. Third, we are building coalitions here in this county and around with other advocacy groups who are concerned also with saving democracy. KUJAN, Kentucky Unitarian Universalist Justice Action Network, and other faith organizations. Kentuckians for the Commonwealth, Indivisible, NAACP, Black Leaders Advocating for Community, and Alpha Kappa Alpha, and more. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Diane. And next, last but not least, Tracy from Hopkinsville.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tracy Hall, and I am the president of the Hopkinsville League. And our Hopkinsville League motto for 2026 is, don't get mad, vote. See, in Hopkinsville, what we try to do, and I challenge my league members to, how do we get people to the polls? That is our number one challenge. In Hopkinsville, we have 52,000 registered voters, but in our last election, 21,000 showed up. Where was the other 30? Right? That's what we all think. So what we try to do now is when we engage voters, voter engagement, we go back and we say, hey, not just ask, are you registered to vote, but do you have a plan for voting? Do you know where you will vote at? And sometimes that sparks conversations, that things that they can just, we can start off with, hey, did you move since your last election? You know, any information updated, and we can get them started on the right path. We also have various community partners we work with, and a lot of them are teachers. They have asked us to come in and do some civic education for the students in high school. So we just kind of bring it down to their level. We know there's a lot going on in the United States and on the federal level, but for most students, they want to know, how does this affect me when it's my turn to vote, or if this could be their first time voting. So we just give them examples of how the Secretary of State is the person that kind of affects whether or not you get that good driver's license, whether or not you know, what documents you need, things like that, because those folks are elected officials. And then the last but not least, we also talk to folks about, through our community forums and debates. We're actually having those come up again in April, and we'll have some meet the candidate things in May. If you're interested in always maybe volunteering and you happen to be in the Hopkinsville area, we are always available to take you. Our email is on that slide. But again, we look at homelessness, economic development, job creation, those things, shortages in housing. Those are things that are on the voters' minds, and those are the things that most voters want to know. And then last but not least, we talk to folks again with civic engagement. We actually ask folks, you know, do you know who, if you're a homeowner, do you know who actually does your valuation for your property, that assess your tax, you know, so your taxes are assessed correctly? A lot of people don't know that is a elected official. So a lot of times we try to just bring it down to the local levels and just have great conversation about things that are going at the local level. So then that would maybe spark people to get involved on the federal level. But that is all that I had, Ms. Jen. I hope that clarifies or clears up some things.
That was perfect. Thank you, Tracy. I appreciate it.
Have a good
Jenna, so, you know, we've been talking about all the things that we are doing, and we would love for you to be a part of that. The different organizations that you're affiliated with, you as individuals, if there's any interest in becoming part of this, and we're trying to create a movement, we're trying to mobilize folks to get involved. On here, a couple of QR codes, and don't worry, we're going to send the slides out after this, as well as links to the website, to how to join, all of this stuff. But on the left, you'll see a QR code that says website. That will take you to our Unite and Rise LWBKY website, where you can learn more and learn a bit more about the constitutional crisis that League of Women Voters US announced back in April. You can learn a little bit more about the 3.5% principle. And then in the middle, you'll see join. That will take you to a Google form where you can put in your information and let us know how you'd like to be involved. And please be honest. You know, if you're like, I only have 10 minutes a week and I can only do remote, that's great. We would love to know that up front. Or I'm really interested in helping out to be a poll worker, or I'm in Hopkinsville. Just let us know, and we'll see if we can match you with the right people to get you set up. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see the app. So we have a fancy app. The app is great for getting information out about what's going on, but also action alerts. Hey, you need to call your congressperson right now because they're about to vote on something in Frankfurt. Or sorry, your local representative, or is it call your DC member, or is it please show up at this voter registration event? But it can also be used for things like canvassing and get out the vote and text banking. So if you are at all interested, feel free to download the app and play around with it. And we're happy to teach you how it all works. Next slide, please, Jenna. The other bit, which is really fun, is that, you know, for joining Unite and Rise, we also have really cool signs that you can take out to demonstrations, and then they also stick in your yard as yard signs. And on one side, it says Unite and Rise for Democracy. On the other side, it says Democracy for All. So if you're interested in the sign, please let us know in that sign-up form. They'll be free, but we are asking for donations if possible, just to try and cover some of the costs. Next slide, please. And that's it. We are at the end. So we'd like to spend this time in kind of a discussion so that we can answer some of the questions that I know have already come up in the chat, but if anyone would like to raise their hands as well. So I'll start first. There was a question that I think Jen Jackson already responded to about the FBI taking voter rolls from a Georgia town. And this is something that Secretary of State Michael Adams has brought up. And Jen, do you want to respond to this, or do you just want me to read your comment?
Sure, I'll respond. So we have had, part of the league, what we do is we build relationships with our elected officials. So, we are building relationships with county clerks, with the Secretary of State. So when issues come up, we can email them and they know who we are. So we've had discussions with Secretary of State Michael Adams, and he recognizes that there is an issue in that it is a violation of Kentucky state law to hand over those voter rolls. So, so if the federal government kind of requires that to happen, then he is kind of stuck in the middle in being in violation of either federal law or state law. But it is definitely my impression that he wants to protect that voter information and is not in favor of handing that over. Now, if the FBI comes in and takes information, I'm not, I am not a legal scholar. So I don't know about that, but I will say that it is the general opinion of our Secretary of State to protect our voter data.
And on that, we are going to be having an event with the Secretary of State, Michael Adams, and we're still trying to figure out the logistics of that. So if you're interested in asking him yourself, please show up to that. That we're hoping will be in the next month or two. So we'll keep you posted on that once everything's finalized. We saw a question in the chat about rapid response teams. And so I think that was already answered in the chat, but someone had asked what they are. And it kind of depends on each local league and what they are looking at responding to. So are we interested in focusing on immigration? Are we interested in focusing on responding to, threats to democracy, and having a group of people ready and able to make decisions that might need kind of a quick answer? So for example, being in a coalition with other organizations, and the other organizations really want to put on this event, but as Jen was saying, we have to weigh, is this too spicy for the league? Can we do this? Does it fit within our mandate? So, but the rapid response teams, it really depends on the issues in the local area, but we have a couple of them that are getting up and running. Other questions? Please feel free to raise your hand. If you go down to the React button at the bottom where the heart is, if you click on that, there'll be a raise your hand function.
I do want to mention that we have a wonderful surprise this evening. So Selena Stewart is the CEO of the League of Women Voters of the United States, and she has joined us this evening. And so I want to turn it over to her to give to have a moment to talk to us about Unite and Rise. And Selena, take it away.
Hello, Kentucky. I hope everyone's having a wonderful night. I'm so excited. I feel a little bit like a wedding crasher, just kind of crashing your party. But I was so excited to see the Unite and Rise conversation tonight. And so I wanted to just join really quickly to see the content. I am so excited about all the updates and what you all are doing. So for anyone who's not on who's on the call for the first time and this is your first exposure, LWV Kentucky is like one of our strongest leagues. If you want to get involved and have some really dope things to do, this is the league, the state league and local leagues to join. So I would just totally encourage you to join. And I hope to see you all around in the streets as we go to save democracy. So thank you all so much. And thank you for giving me a minute just to say hi.
Thank you so much. All right, let's see. Do we have other questions that were in the chat? Let me see.
I don't see any. Actually, Jenna Ray, do you mind stopping sharing the screen? And then we can open this up so we can see each other's faces a bit more. Oh, hello, everyone. Hi. Okay, so I don't see any questions in the chat. I don't see any raised hands. If anyone wants to just come off mute and ask a question, please feel free.
I'm going to just make a point.
Oh, there's Patty.
Just wanted to make sure people understand that if you want to join the league, you would join at the local leagues. Actually, I think you just hit the join button probably at any level and it would go up to the national, but then that automatically gets you joined to your local, state, and national league.
Thank you, Patty. Over to Sharon Stewart. Oh, sorry, Sharon, you're on mute.
I
There we go.
apologize. Okay. Actually, this is just my brain thinking. So this is not going to be a real organized comment, but I was just thinking about Observer Corps and the work that we're doing here locally and how that might fit in with some of the initiatives. And really, I think it could be a really good partnership because what we do is report and observe local boards and commissions. And the purpose is to encourage civic involvement, which is what we're talking about here, by educating the public and also promoting good government on the part of these boards and commissions. But what I was thinking we might want to figure out, but I need to think about this a little bit, is ways that we can monitor some of these meetings so that we can notice state and federal government actions that may be impacting our local government. And I'm already seeing a few of those. In some of the meetings that I observed, they're showing a real increase, for example, in the number of complaints about discrimination in housing and employment since like for the last 6 months. And also they're seeing like a slowdown in terms of funding from various government agencies that have contracts with some of our groups. And this isn't formed in my mind completely yet, but it just seems to me like we're really on this opportunity to be on the front line in terms of some of these things that are going on. I think we'd want to work with city government. We don't want to accidentally do anything that puts them in a precarious position. But I'm just thinking there might be some real possibilities there for us. So that's just my comment. And that's all I want to say at this point, because I'm not prepared, but it's worth thinking about.
It is. It's a great idea. And Patty, do you want to respond to that one, or Jen? I'm thinking that might be a nice opportunity to think through where we might be able to fit that or how we can coordinate.
Specifically looking at local government.
And how they're affected by the actions that the federal government is taking. So how it's impacting local level functioning.
I think that's something for us to think about. Actually, we developed our goals and action plan back in September, and we really need to revisit it because we're trying to hit the ground running, and I think we could weave some of these things in. We do have a legislative team that monitors what's happening in Frankfort. So, and now that we have the Unite and Rise looking more at the federal level, there should be a way to weave a thread, I think, down through all that. And Sharon, if you would like to join our Unite and Rise committee and kind of help us think that through, that would be absolutely fabulous.
I would be interested in, because I really see that the possibility already of some ways that we can help get the word out about the impacts in our local communities, because I think a lot of people think of this as a federal problem and they don't realize that it all comes down then to what's happening in our cities. So anyway, yeah. Yes.
Great. Thank you for that, Sharon. That's excellent. We are going to go over to Richard now. Richard Heine. Oh, sorry, Richard, you're on mute.
Is our national president still on, or did she just come and then leave?
I think she said she had to crash another meeting. So she actually just left.
I had a question for her, so I don't need to have my hand up.
Okay, well, we can pass it on. Let us know and we'll pass it on to her.
Well, you know what the question is. What she said wonderful things about Kentucky. The question was, what are they doing nationally?
Yeah, I hear you on that. And they created this large campaign, Unite and Rise 8.5. And so that's kind of this Kentucky branch is a branch of that national campaign. But yeah, additional national action would be amazing. Let's see. I don't see any other hands up unless Sharon, do you have your hands up again? Or is that a legacy hand? Legacy hand. Okay. Let's see. Is there anything in the chat? We're seeing in Kentucky where our legislators are trying to pass laws supporting Trump's executive orders. And our legislative team is looking at a lot of the bills that are coming through Frankfurt and trying to let us know what's going on there and if there's anything we need to kind of pay more attention to. Let's see. Jen Jackson mentioned our app, the League in Action app, which was one of the QR codes on one of the earlier slides. And I think those are all of the questions we've got. So unless we see another hand, oh, Patty, over to you. Sorry, you're on mute, Patty.
Catherine's comment, I'm not sure I can be nonpartisan, I think is an excellent question that we all have in our minds in these very trying times. But Jen may want to speak to it, but from my point of view, fighting for our democracy is not partisan. Holding our government officials accountable is not partisan. You can work in those spaces with the League, and then you can work in partisan spaces with other organizations. It's not mutually exclusive. Looks like Diane wants to add something.
Yes, I was just going to say that all of us are probably partisan in our personal lives somewhere. But when we're working in the League, I found that being nonpartisan is building trust. So when I wanted to get into the school system, when they knew I was nonpartisan, come on in. Same, I think, for college campuses. So I think it's really important. I think we can all be nonpartisan and do voter outreach, get out the vote. And at the same time, in our personal lives, we are all our own parties, whatever. Thanks.
Yeah, and I think it's important to know that, like, of course, we all are participating in elections, right? Because we care about it. And I think it's important to also just remember that, like, when we talk about partisanship, again, it's rooted in, like, these are our issues and this is what we are supporting. We're supporting women being able to vote. So we're against the SAVE Act. That is, we would have been supporting that in 1920, right? Like, so that is who we are. We're not changing ties with whatever parties are deciding. And so taking stances on issues is not partisan. And I think there is a big narrative in the world right now that is trying to paint things in that way. And so again, this is about upholding our Constitution. It's about having First Amendment rights, Second Amendment rights, Fourth Amendment rights, all the amendment rights. And those things are in violation right now. And so that is what we're standing up for. That is not, and if neither party was supporting constitutional rights, we're still going to be supporting constitutional rights. So that is our stance as a league. And so I think other people try to frame these things in partisan terms, but having opinions on things is not itself partisan.
And I would like to add as well that the more diverse and the broader this movement is to push back and protect democracy, the more successful it's going to be, right? It can't be for one group of people who believe a certain way. It's got to be for all of us, because democracy is not partisan, right? It's our system of government, and we all have to kind of come together to fight for it, regardless of who we vote for in the election. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Patty and Jen, if you guys would like to give us any final remarks before we close it out.
I think we will. What we send them afterward, they can sign up on our volunteer form. You're probably going to cover that, Jen, but I saw that someone in the chat, Karen, thank you, is interested in supporting Unite and Rise work around federal changes. So we definitely want and need everybody. We got to get up to 135,000. So we'll take all of you, but that will come your way where you can sign up to volunteer. And over to you, Jen Jackson.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for spending your time with us this evening. I have to confess, I feel I just noticed, I was like, Karen, I know Karen from high school, actually. So I invited a bunch of my old friends from high school to come tonight and they showed up. So I'm loving it. Anyway, but that is really what this movement is all about. It's tapping into the people that you know, because that's what's going to get it done. We have to stop thinking about talking about politics as being impolite. I mean, this is really about the way of life, and for me and the values that I have. I'm a pediatric nephrologist by training, and so like my values are taking care of people. They're about making sure that children have health and are not being tear gassed in the streets. And so I think tapping into what your personal values are is really what this is about. And we need to be sharing that with other people and not hiding it. We need to be sharing it with the world, because other people may think you think different things if you're saying nothing. And so I think we need to be very clear about what your values are and being vulnerable and sharing that. And that's what helps us preserve our democracy. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming tonight. I encourage you to use the League in Action app. Check it out. We will have more training and information about that later. We're going to be sending out links and all the information for you to get involved. Check out our website. You can join the League, of course. We always appreciate financial support. If you want to give a donation to the League to support our work, say you don't have time to whatever to do a committee, we always appreciate financial contributions, because that's also what helps us do that voter outreach. So again, thank you so much for your time, and we will wrap it up.
All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll send an email to you shortly. Thanks again for spending your Thursday with us and getting fired up about democracy. Woo! Good night.
Good night, everybody.